He is without conscience, a capitalist who functions without amorality. France has upheld an earlier conviction against Soros for felony insider trading. Soros was fined $2.9 million. Recently, his native Hungary fined Soros $2.2 million for illegal market manipulation. Elizabeth Crum writes that the Hungarian economy has been in a state of transition as the country seeks to become more financially stable and westernized. Soros, deliberately driving down the share price of its largest bank, put Hungary's economy into a wicked tailspin, one from which it's still trying to recover. My point here is that Soros is a planetary parasite. His grasp, greed, and gluttony have at global research. But what about America? Soros told Australia's national newspaper, The Australian, the America as the center of the globalized financial markets was sucking up the savings of the world. This is now over. The game is out, he said, adding that the time has come for a very serious adjustment in America's consumption habits. He implied that he was the one with the power to bring this about. Soros' world financial crisis was stimulating and, in a way, the culmination of my life's work. Obama has recently promised $10 billion of our tax dollars to Brazil in order to give them a leg up in expanding the offshore oil fields. Obama's largesse towards Brazil came shortly after the political financial backer George Soros invested heavily in Brazilian oil Petrobras. Tate Trussell writes, the Petrobras loan may be a windfall for Soros in Brazil, but it is a bad deal for the U.S. The American Petroleum Institute estimates that oil exploration in the U.S. could create 160,000 new, well-paying jobs, as well as $1.7 trillion in revenues to the federal, state, local governments, all while fostering greater energy security and independence. A blog you might want to keep an eye on is SorosWatch.com. Their mission, the blog is dedicated to all who have suffered due to the ruthless financial pursuits of George Soros. Your stories are many and varied, but the theme is the same, the destructive power of greed without conscience. We pledge to tirelessly watch Soros wherever he goes and to print the truth and hope that he will one day be made to stop preying upon the world's poor. That justice will be served. Back to America. Soros has been actively working to destroy America from the inside out for some years now. People have been warning us. 2 years ago, news resources reported that Soros is an extremist who wants open borders, a one-world foreign policy, legalized drugs, euthanasia, and on and on. This is off-the-chart dangerous. In 1997, Rachel Ehrenfeld wrote, Soros uses his philanthropy to change and more accurately destructive the moral values and attitudes of Western world, and particularly of the American people. His open society is not about freedom, it is about license. His vision rejects the notion of order liberty in favor of progressive ideology of rights and entitlements. Perhaps the most important of these whistleblowers is David Horowitz and Richard Poe. Their book, The Shadow Party, outlines in detail how Soros hijacked the Democratic Party and now owns it lock, stock, and barrel. Soros has been packing the Democratic Party radicals and ousting moderate Democrats for years. The Shadow Party became the shadow government, which became the Obama administration. Discover the networks.org, another good source, writes, by his Soros' own admission, he helped engineer coups in Slovakia, Croatia, Georgia, and Yugoslavia. When Soros targets a country for regime change, he begins by creating a shadow government, a fully foreign government in exile, ready to assume power when the opportunity arises. The Shadow Party has been built in America greatly resembles those he created in other countries prior to instigating a coup. November 2008 edition of the German magazine Der Spiegel, in which Soros gives his opinion of what the next POTUS, President of the United States, should do after taking office. I think we need a large stimulus package, Soros says. Soros thought that around $600 billion would be about right. Soros also said that, I think Obama presents us a great opportunity to finally deal with the global warming and energy dependence. The U.S. needs a cap-and-trade system with auctioning of licenses for emission rights. Although Soros doesn't yet own the Republican Party, he does the Democrats. Make no mistake, his tentacles are spread throughout the Republican Party as well. Soros is a partner in the Carlyle Group, where he has invested more than $100 million. According to an article by Baltimore Chronicle's Alice Chernbronner, the Carlyle Group is run by a veritable who's who of former Republican leaders, from CIA man Frank Carlucci, the CIA head and ex-president, and the man in charge, really, of Obama, George Bush Sr. In late 2006, Soros bought about 2 million shares of Halliburton, Dick Cheney's old stomping grounds. With the Democrats and Republicans held their convictions in 2000, Soros held shadow party conventions in the same cities. At the same time, in 2008, Soros donated $500 million to the Democratic National Committee, DNC, to ensure Obama's win and wins for many of Zelensky-trained radical roles anti-American socialists. George has been contributing $1 billion plus in DNC since Clinton came to the scene. Soros has dirtied both sides of the aisle, trust me. And if that weren't bad enough, he has long been connections with the CIA. And I mustn't forget to mention Soros' involvement with MSM, mainstream media, the entertainment industry, e.g. he owns 2.6 million shares of Time Warner and the various political advertising organization he funnels millions to. In short, George Soros controls or influences most of MSM. Little wonder they ignore the Tea Party, Soros' nemesis. As Matthew Vandam writes, the little billionaire turned philanthropist has been buying up media properties for years in order to drive home his message to the American public that they are too materialistic, too wasteful, too selfish, and too stupid to decide for themselves how to run their own lives.